Good morning, everybody. It is June 10th, and today we're rolling with Weiler. Whoop, whoop. Today we're talking about safety. In this COVID-19, post-COVID-19 situation, and if we're going to go out and film things, we need to make sure that we maintain distance. And one of the ways we do that is setting up a boom pole on a stand and making sure that it's locked down and it's not going to go anywhere, which involves sandbags. I have a couple, but I just bought a couple more to make sure that all my sets and everything was locked down tight. Hello. What do you fill a sandbag with? You got a lot of options. You can do it with sand. Nope, definitely not bringing sand on sets with me. Rice. Don't really like the idea of food, because I was also thinking popcorn, because it was like in the event of an emergency, you'd have rice and then popcorn for, nighttime. Great stuff. But I was like, nah, I think I'm gonna keep food off set too. So we're gonna need to go get some pebbles. So pebbles at B&Q should be pretty quick and easy. All right, and there is no way that I am standing in that line to go get pebbles for my sandbags. Just not happening. All right, everybody out there, you got some questions? I want to give you some answers. We only got a couple days till Q&A Friday, so put those questions down there. Come on. Boop. Okay, so we're going to give Daniel from Landfall Media, who is an incredible one-man band, a great documentary filmmaker, and a lot of other things, and ask him about safety. Let's give him a buzz. What is a one-man band? I'm not talking about the dude who can play the banjo, the piano, some wind instruments, some string instruments. I'm thinking about the filmmaker, because they've got a lot of skills across the board in filmmaking. Guys who can operate one camera, two cameras, run sound, and get a great product is handy to have when you're on set. And I say this to anybody and everybody who's getting into the industry. The more skills you have, the more valuable you will be to any production. So get some skills. All right, good morning. And we've got Daniel Nikolaison from Landfall Media on the phone, and who's an incredible one-man band, documentary filmmaker, and a lot of other things, but we don't have the time to talk about how amazing Daniel is. But I have a question for you, Daniel, and it revolves around sandbags and safety. I'm going to get some new sandbag stuff to fill my sandbags. But I thought it was important to tell people out there why it's important to have them and why it's important to be safe on set.
Well, before you go any further, I have two of your sandbags, which I stole from the last shoot.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. That's why I've got to go get new sandbags.
Right, yeah. I'll charge them through, mate. Charge them through.
All right, talk to me. Why is it important to have a safe set? Like, I remember years ago, I didn't use sandbags because I was like, nah, I'm just going to run and gun this thing. But as soon as things started to get heavier, like I wanted to make sure that sets were safer.
Well, it's kind of a statistical thing too. Like, so yes, things are getting heavier, especially if you're one-man banding it. You might have to put a mic on a stand and extend the boom, and so therefore your C-stand's under a bit of extra pressure, or if you don't have C-stands and you have just some normal mic stand or whatever, all of that is a risk. You've got lights that you've got going up, so it's once you start putting more and more equipment on the ground at some place, your risk factor starts going through the roof. And then the next thing is, how often are you working? If you're working, doing a shoot every other day, sometimes the maths is you're just gonna, at some point, you're gonna have an accident. So you've got to actually make sure that stuff is locked down. Most of us operate with insurance in the background, and insurance is always going to be saying, look, if you want us to pay out, you have to have done the necessary measures to keep things safe. And then once you've done your bit, the insurance will do their bit. So, statistically, the more you work, the more equipment you use, the higher the risk factor is. And so I guess with any risk assessment, you're going to have to be trying to mitigate that risk.
And all right, a couple tricks to safety when you're on set. 1, always have sandbags. 2, always carry far too much gaffer tape to be able to block everything down as far as cables and anything that's kind of traipsed around the set. And then 3, one thing that I like to do is keep my stuff battery powered if I can. So that involves V-Lock batteries, which are stupidly expensive, but they get you out of a jam and it allows you to go anywhere and everywhere and you don't have to worry about power sockets. That's it. Those are my 3 tips. Keep working. Talk to me about like the younger years of being a filmmaker. I mean, obviously you're super pro now.
As you think back to our kind of young days, our cowboy days, our days we were just trying to get a start or whatever. So many things did we not do properly that we kind of got away with, and could potentially continue to get away with without doing. But I mean, you just get to a point that we've all got families now. We're professionals. We are charging more of a premium for our seniority. All of that stuff has to equal kind of safety boots on the ground.
I think that's a really valid point. I think there's also another side of it, which is like, I think the other side of this is keeping your equipment safe. So if in the event that, say, you've got a light on a stand, or you've got a monitor on a stand, or you have something on a stand, the likelihood of that falling over is not that likely. But as soon as you get more bodies and people moving around, all it takes is a nudge, and then that equipment that you just worked really hard, saved up to earn and to buy,
Absolutely.
Falls over and hits the ground. You're just like, oh.
And more, I find myself working as a one-man crew, but working perhaps for a producer who's brought me in to do that for them. That producer wants to save money by not having a camera system, having these extra bodies there. And of course, what that translates to is a producer who's not very good with the camera equipment and wants to lend a helping hand. And next thing, they're sticking up your things, chucking them in the wrong bags. Things like that. And I've been in situations where producers have thought they're helping, trying to help, and it's ended up in equipment being broken, equipment being lost completely, or in some cases, equipment being left on the other side of the country while you took a train to another place. All of that comes from people that are not supposed to be touching the equipment and don't know how to touch it, trying to help. And as you start doing more of these shoots like that, you do have to get many more systems in place to make sure that, everything is in its rightful place. Because, as I say, again, every job you do, the more you do, the more risk factor there is. And every little cable counts, every little thing counts. And making sure you take care of that is part of the margins of your annual turnover.
Is there a happy medium? I'm not saying like you risk a lack of safety on set to go faster, but I'm saying like the reason why we are professionals is because we've done hundreds, thousands of shoots, and we've gotten things in position and placed and prepped and ready, so we actually go faster and can still maintain that level of safety.
I mean, the happy medium is do it with a smiling face. Every shoot, you're going to be under this pressure to move fast, and get the job done for as cheap as possible. And you have to stand your ground and say, no, I need to do this methodically and make sure my kit is safe and make sure nobody else gets hurt. So for that reason, you have to be ready to stand your ground, which is why a lot of cameramen can sometimes end up looking like they're the grumpy guy on set, when actually they're trying to stay professional here before something goes wrong.
Agreed, my man. All right, I'm going to let you go. You have a marvelous rest of your day, and speak to you soon.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
Peace, bro.
Bye.
I remember back in college when my professors would tell me that I needed to be one of a couple things, a director, a producer, an editor, and I refused, and I took every course under the sun to be able to do all of it. I understand that at that stage we were using tape. We weren't quite digital yet. But it was important to me to know how to do everything, so that way when I hired anybody or I was working with anybody, you could stick me in any department and I'd work fine. Obviously, I was better at certain things than others, but it was more valuable to have more skills in my back pocket. And I think now more than ever, with this COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, you want fewer people on set with more skills so you can still get a really rock-solid product. I think safety is a huge component of any shoot, whether it's a photo shoot, film shoot, whatever you're working on. You need to make sure that your sets are buttoned up and that nobody's going to get hurt on it. As crews start to get bigger, people are moving around, things are happening. It's like all it takes is a trip of a cable, knocking over of a stand of some sort, and people can get injured and your equipment could get broken. So thinking about things in advance, thinking about potential outcomes, and just kind of going through the process of whatever shoot you're about to go on is helpful to avoid accidents in the future. And I think especially as young filmmakers and photographers or people in the industry, to start that and to have that as and I think for younger people in the industry, it's really helpful to start that way, so that way as they go through their career, safety is always first, because the last thing you'd ever want to do is to damage anything or to hurt anybody on your set, because it just looks bad. Not to mention the health factors, which are not positive either. All right, if you're out there and you know of a really good phone recording app, I know there's a bunch of them out there, but they don't work the way that I want them to work. It's always you have to make a call, and then you have to call that app, and then you have to merge the calls. It just doesn't work for what I need. So if you know of one, let me know, please. Put it in the comments, or just send me a direct message. All right, guys, Taco Burrito, it's a wrap. We're game over. A little bit of a failed mission, but no biggie. Pick up that phone, call your friends, call your family, and I'll see you tomorrow.